So sitting here in Amsterdam on a beautiful sunny Friday afternoon. Do you like Amsterdam?
Oh, very much. I've been coming to Amsterdam for years. Before we met Papa G and afterwards. And I love it. It's beautiful. But I love the Dutch people. I like their spirit and their willingness to question.
So, what is it about Dutch people? Are they uplifting? Or?
They're energetic. You know, every place has its flavor, and I have to say I like the people finally every place I go, especially in the context of satsang, because we speak of the most important things and people's hearts open. But the friendliness of the Dutch people and their willingness to be playful and also challenging.
Mm-hmm.
That's a nice combination.
Have you noticed a change in, let's say, for the last 5 or 10 years, what people ask, or are the questions always the same?
Well, I think the issues are always the same, but what happens is as people get familiar with spiritual questions, either the questions go deeper and it reveals a more subtle level of understanding, or the questions just get conceptual. People may know what the right questions are to ask, and that may not be the real question for them. But that's, I think, what I was pointing to about the Dutch people. It feels like they're willing to ask the wrong question if it's the real question. And that's really important, because otherwise it just becomes more conditioning.
So how can you recognize the difference between a real question and a question that you just got out of a book? Or?
Yeah. Well, one is alive. The real question is alive, and it also may generate some fear because we're afraid of the real answer. And it's something that we're involved in with our life, not just our minds. You know, books are wonderful. I'm a book reader. I love books. I write books. But finally, it is our direct experience that counts. And so a real question, inquiry is what I call it, because it comes from Ramana, really turns your attention inward into home. Whereas what we could call a wrong question or a false question just turns your attention into the spin of the mind and into anxiety and frustration. For instance, why is usually how a wrong question starts.
When the question starts with why.
Yeah. Very useful questions in lots of areas, why something happened, so that we can learn and not do it again. But when we are speaking of discovering the truth of who we are, then why? Why am I suffering? Why did my parents treat me this way? Why is the world like this? It just leads us into theory. And so we have many reasons, and some may be correct and some may be incorrect. But if we're willing to ask deeper questions, what is here now? How can I live my life in truth? Then those are questions of discovery rather than questions as an attempt to manage life or handle life.
Or satisfy the mind.
Yes, satisfy the mind, which is the management.
So if I start my question with what, that will be a better starting point?
Well, I'm happy to play with why.
Okay.
Because we can always take why to the deeper levels.
Let me ask a scary question. What am I?
Well, what do you mean when you say I? What's the I pointing to?
Well, this sense of being, this sense of being alive.
Yes. That's what you are. It's being. Beingness, being alive. So if we are willing to start there with this question, what am I? And then as you did, you took the question inward, this sense of being alive, this life, then we can actually turn our attention to life, this life that is in us. So we are life forms, different life forms all around, but present in all life form is life. And this life is actually discovering itself in you, in this particular life form.
So you could say, I'm life.
I've been saying that lately. You are life is what I've been saying. And then, because from that, then we can ask the question, find out what comes and goes. What comes and goes? What is always here? We know that forms come and go. Our life forms will come and go. Thoughts come and go, emotions come and go. But life doesn't come and go. Life was here before our particular life forms, and it's here after them. And when we recognize this ever-present quality of life itself, and we all know life is here, but it is so obvious and apparent that we overlook the depth of it and the vastness of it and the presence, the conscious presence of it. So those would be questions I would give back to you.
And then I go into a why question.
Okay.
Why is there life?
I don't know the answer to that. I mean, this is a good example of what happens to why questions.
Yeah.
I mean, I could give you my belief in that or my view in that or some kind of, and that could change day by day. But I know in a moment of experiencing life and the vastness of it and myself as life and you as life, that in itself answers that question.
Yeah. Well, so I asked this question once before and someone said, why not?
Yeah, that's the best answer.
Yeah. But also someone said it's God playing hide and seek with himself.
Yeah.
Or
yeah, they're beautiful poetic metaphors. I mean,
of
Lila, the play of God.
Yeah. Or love looking for itself.
Yeah.
Finding
itself.
Yeah. Could you say everything is God in disguise?
That's a big question. Certainly at the source, everything, and when you say God, I'm hearing life, because to me that's what's omnipresent rather than anyone's idea of God. So at the source there's life, and then from that source there are permutations of life, and some are perfect and some are imperfect, and some are good and some are bad. So yes, at the source.
But
should we close this door?
Yeah, yeah. Let's close the door.
Sorry.
This one.
This one.
Maybe this one. So, do we have any influence on what life brings us?
Well, we certainly have influence on our response to what life brings us. I think it's very skillful to assume that what appears is choiceless, which is not a New Age view. New Age views say more that you choose this, you chose your parents. But I do accept that there is profound capacity to choose, and that's the relationship to what appears, whether that's your parents or your genetics or circumstances of the world. In a moment of being willing to choose to fully respond to that, then we get into the play of choice and choicelessness as alive, rather than just theoretical.
Because some hardcore Advaita or non-duality fanatics just say, sit back and relax, there's no such thing as free will, everything is exactly as it should be.
Yeah. Well, I'm not an Advaita teacher. My teacher, Papaji, never mentioned the word Advaita to me, so I didn't even know what it meant until I came back and people said, well, you're an Advaita teacher, and I kept saying, no, I'm not. So I don't have a particular dogma. I can only speak from my own experience. And my experience is there's much that is completely choiceless. And there is this capacity as a human being with a reflective consciousness to actually choose, even if it's choosing what is here, that in that way we participate. Or refuse to choose, which is another choice, of course.
So it's the response.
Yes.
To the situation.
Yes, to life.
The response to life.
Yeah.
Was I ever born?
Well, you as life were never born. You as the identity in this life form was, you were born and you will die. So when we say I, it actually means many things, or points to many things. It points to the universal life that was never born and not subject to death. And also points to this individual life form that is born and dies. So in that sense, it is truly non-dual. It includes both what is universal and both, and also what is relative. So
that almost sounds like there's two of me. There's life and there's me.
There's one of you, and within that one appears this experience, this sense of being, you said. So there's sensory perceptions in this. When these senses are finished, those senses will be no more. But the truth of you, the source of you, life, remains.
So the sense of a me, people call it ego. For a part, you could call it functional, huh?
Yeah.
Because I take my place in the world, and I watch when I cross the street that this form doesn't get hurt. But what's a wrong sense of me?
Well, when it's exclusive, when it has to do with me against other, or me and not other. So when we speak of this sense of me, ego, when it's benign or when it's non-aggressive, it's simply an experience, a phenomenon of life. But as we all know, within our own selves and in our world, it can be aggressive, and then it's about survival at the risk of anyone else, and that is why ego is here. It seems to me, if we're speaking of whys, it's a survival of the form, and it's Eli, my husband, speaks of it as like a program upgrade in evolution, so that when we say, oh, this is me, and we identify ourselves as this one, then we will fight for this one to survive. Whether it's just this one, or it's the tribe, or the nation, we will fight and kill. And we see that, of course, in the world, the aggressive nature of ego. And there's also a benign nature, which is simply the delightful experience of me and other.
But should you get rid of ego, or is it just use it you can use it in the wrong way, or?
Well, who's going to get rid of ego? I mean, the idea to get rid of ego is still ego. Does life need to get rid of ego? No. Does silence need to get rid of ego? Does love need to get rid of ego? It's only this capacity of ego to fragment itself into me and other, and into ego and superego, or lower ego and higher ego, and the higher ego will get rid of the lower ego, but that's all a play of mind, because finally ego is simply the I thought. It's the thought of me based on sensory perception.
So there's no such thing like you sometimes read or hear, the ego does this, the ego does that. You say it's just a thought, and a thought can't do anything.
If the thought is, the action occurs, and then the thought actually follows the action. Although in our perception, it's as if we are doing it.
Yeah.
And of course we are functioning, as you said, and so in that sense the ego is one with functioning. So and there's no problem there with functioning. It's only really in malfunction, and it has become a problem globally now because there's a malfunction in the human identity. It's conquered the world, and it's now at the risk of dying because it's conquered the world. So maybe it's that very malfunction that's even allowing us to have this kind of conversation, or to examine what does it mean to be ego, and what is benign ego and what's the aggressive ego, and who am I really?
Yeah, you could say like 50, 60 years ago after Second World War, there was a love and peace movement to bring that in balance again or something.
Yes.
So maybe we're facing that right now also.
Yes. Well, it seems that whenever things are shocked, when the system is shocked, certainly World War II or any of the wars or anything that may happen to us personally, there's a reevaluation of what's important, what are we here for, what do we serve.
What most people are looking for is happiness, is good fortune, winning the lottery, whatever. We think it brings us joy, it brings us everlasting happiness. Is that possible, everlasting happiness?
The deep, everlasting fulfillment of self-recognition is possible for everyone. Happiness, as you're describing and as we experience, comes and goes. We may wake up in the morning and feel ill, and that brings feelings of unhappiness. That comes and goes. We may wake up feeling wonderful, and that's happiness. So when my teacher said to me, what comes and goes, going back to what the right question is, and what remains, that was so profound for me, because I had to recognize that everything that I was hoping would not come, comes. And everything I was hoping would not go, goes. And it cut some hope that those things which by their nature come and go, some hope that would change, that I would reverse the laws of the universe. And once that hope was cut, there was a tension that was free to discover what is always here. And what is always here is the source of this me and the source of this non-me. It is profoundly fulfilling to recognize that is the truth of who I am, whatever my experience of pleasure, of pain, of happiness, unhappiness. And so those experiences just become weather patterns.
Clouds in the sky.
Yeah, and they do have an effect, but they have no meaning, no deep meaning.
So could you say that hope is like, I don't know the right English word, sinking sand, when you step on and you get sucked into the mud?
Yes, yeah. I can't think of the word either. Anyway, we know
what we mean. Yeah.
Well, hope is very necessary for children. It's a necessary attitude for children. And then comes a certain point where we recognize that we can be trapped by our hopes, that it keeps us looking in the future. It keeps us avoiding what is here in the present, responding to what is here, whether we hope it is here or we hope it's not here. It's here. That can be an emotion, or it can be an event. It can be a realization, it can be a loss of realization. Just to give up hope that it would be different is to really take responsibility for meeting it.
So not hoping for better times. These times are good enough already.
Well, I wouldn't even say good enough. These times are these times. And that's the beginning. What are these times? And what in these times will come and go? And what has always been here in your experience and in your listener's experience? From that first moment of recognizing I am. I can remember I was a small child, and it was like a shock of coming into consciousness, and just the wonder of that. And then I got very busy trying to manage that and explain that, and of course that's what our education systems do, that's what our religions do, that's what our spiritual movements do. They try to give us some way of metaphysically understanding this hugeness of I am. I am is always here in our experience. And we know it's, in our adult experience, we know that this flavor of I am will not be here. But the consciousness that recognizes itself as being, that's life.
So that's the thing all people who visit your satsangs are looking for, but do you say to them, well, you never lost it, you still are here, or?
Yeah, I might say that. I actually try to meet people where they are.
Yeah.
Really what I see mostly in the meetings is people are obsessed with their own problems, their own obstructions to happiness. And so they want happiness, but the attention is on the problem. And I recently spoke to some people and said, satsang is not psychotherapy. We aren't here to work on your problems. But we live in a psychotherapeutic subculture, so we're very influenced by the methods of psychotherapy. And we use the words psychotherapy, ego, and I use the word subconscious. They're valuable words, and it's a valuable discipline. But that's not what satsang is. Satsang is what is here regardless of your problems. And are your problems more important than what is always here? For many people, the problem is the importance, and they just want it gone or fixed. But for people who are willing to hear that or investigate that there is this conscious life that is free and fulfilled regardless of the problems, that's very good news.
Yeah. One thing about problems, I once heard a Dutch teacher, he doesn't live anymore, Alexander Smith, he said the solution is the problem. The looking for a solution
is the problem.
That's problem.
Right. That's right, because it's all about fixing something rather than recognizing.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Is it like the favorite toy of the mind-made self, creating problems and then fixing it? Or is it too short?
Well, we know that it's very useful to see what the problem is and then fix it in terms of, if I'm not getting food, what's the problem?
Yeah.
If I'm not getting a relationship, what's the problem? And to fix it. But then we expect fixing the problem to give us fulfillment, to give us recognition. And it can't. That's just an activity of mind.
Yeah.
Realization is bigger than that.
Could you call it addiction?
Yes, I call it an addiction. We are addicted to the power of thinking, because it is a power. And sometimes it's a wonderful power, a creative power, and sometimes it's horrible, but just the power itself is addictive. And so we assume, because it is our drug, that it will solve our problems, and it is the problem.
So you say see problems as clouds just hiding in front of the sun. The sun is still there, the warmth of the sun, or?
Yes, and sometimes it's appropriate to fix the problems, and sometimes, or at least once, it is self-revealing to simply stop doing anything with anything and recognize what is always here.
So stop doing.
Yeah, for a moment at least. I'm not. It doesn't bother me that people say I do. It's fine. Have the experience of doing. It's a wonderful experience. We like to work. Our minds like to work. But first, just take a moment and recognize what can't be done, because it's already here.
You don't have to do anything
it's
for
here.
it. Yeah. I once met a guy from Africa, south of Africa. He had a relationship with a Dutch girl. And I recognized immediately in him that he sits passively, just enjoying the moment, enjoying the atmosphere. And then he gets up and makes a cup of tea, and you want some tea, you want some fruit, and then he gets back into this chill modus. And I saw this and I thought, wow, it almost seems like people in Holland, or maybe in all of Europe, live the other way around. That you are still always doing something, and then sometimes chill modus.
That's right.
For example, he just put the way around. He's always in chill modus, and he gets into activity.
Yes, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes, in our modern world, we've lost that. It's out of balance. And that's where the addiction to thinking and doing has thrown the whole balance of this remarkable experience of being, and therefore being able to think and do. We think and do, and being is lost somewhere.
Being is reserved for vacations and weekends on Saturday evenings. Yeah. Okay, in the next and final episode, I wanted to talk to you about some tweets you put on Twitter.
Okay.
Let's have a cup of water. So there's a Gangaji Twitter account. Is that with your team, or do you put things on it?
It's with my team. They take things, tweets from things I've said.
Yeah.
I've never actually seen it.
No? You're not like a social media fan?
Not so much. I've actually, I'm not in that wave.
Well, so what do you enjoy using? Music, or theater? Or?
I love to read.
Read?
I love reading literature, novels, fiction.
Mm-hmm.
I find so much truth in fiction.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Are there like modern fairy tales who point us to this, or?
You know, if it's really good, well done, art, somehow channeled, it's the same as satsang for me. It's, or looking at a painting, or listening to music. There's something that's touched that is free of my conceptual mind, that I can't own, but I can recognize, and I love that.
So I once read the books from Jett McKenna. He put the Moby Dick tale, and then he recognized this, what we're talking about in that.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see what I got from you on the Twitter account. It's nice to see that so many people follow this, and the direct experience of our true nature is to surrender what we think we should be feeling for the discovery of peace that is already here. Well, that's what you're just talking about. Yeah. This is what you already talked about. The discovery of true peace is possible for everyone, regardless of. But that's what we think. We think if the circumstances are right, then I finally can rest and get to peace.
That's right. We have it just reversed, because that's a reverse in the thought that our thinking mind is in control. Because we think these circumstances should be different, but actually, maybe in particular, the circumstances that are not so comfortable, there is a tension and an energy that makes it more possible to recognize what's the truth, what's in the core, what's the source.
Could you compare it like with a party? Sometimes I speak to people who say, I go to the party, I hope it's a good party. But then I say, but you come to the party, you make the party. You bring your own happiness, your own party atmosphere to the party.
Yeah.
Is it something like that? Is life like a party which you have to bring something to? Or? Definitely.
Especially in this instance of you hope it's a good party. It's like, what if it's not a good party? Because as we know, life experience and parties can be horrible.
Yeah.
And in that, not that we would want that, I hope it will be a bad party, or we don't want it because it's uncomfortable, it can be painful, but it reveals that which is unmoved. And if we recognize that, then our life is an emanation of that. And sometimes the parties are no good. Sometimes life experiences are no good, but this lasting peace, which is mysterious and free of our control, free of our thinking concepts, is here. And it's here for us to discover it in each other.
So looking for a good feeling in the world, or happiness, looking for happiness in the world, is that the wrong way around?
Well, I think it's the way we start. It's the initial way. Everyone wants to be happy, and for some people that may mean being fed because they're starving, or being able to get away from some bullets or bombs. But we seek this happiness, and at a certain point we recognize that the seeking of it is the problem, and that if we are willing to stop that seeking, it doesn't mean we then dissociate or go numb or go unconscious. We consciously stop seeking and recognize what is here. This is simple, but it's incredibly challenging because we have been deeply conditioned and we are addicted to our thinking minds. So I've been speaking to people all over Europe in these couple of months, and In Germany, they may say, ja, aber. And in Spain, they would say, sí, pero. We follow it up, yes, but, yes, there's peace here, yes, but what about? So to be able or willing to choose, to take a moment or an afternoon and simply surrender the thinking mind into its source, that which is always here. Then we discover, then our thinking mind is led by our discovery, rather than trying to get the discovery by thinking what should happen, whether it's circumstances or a sense of happiness. So it's really just the reverse.
You just said yes, but in Dutch it's ja maar.
Ja, maar.
You can also translate it as a no.
Yes, that's great. Well, Dutch is the clearest language of all, because that's what it means.
Ja maar is a nee, is a no, no.
Yeah. Ja maar that's really good to know.
Yeah, it's something I picked up a long time ago, and it always stuck with me, because people who say ja maar, they sound friendly and they sound they want to go your way, but they just say no.
It's saying no, yes. And at the very least, in English or Dutch or Spanish or German, it's discounting. It's already deciding there's a problem that's bigger than that. Yeah. So the invitation really is to investigate, how big is this? How deep is it?
Yeah, so this is it. No more excuses.
Yes, no more excuses.
I got this book, like the Course in Miracles. I went through it, and I thought, I have to put away this, because after this book, no more excuses.
Yeah.
Are you like the excuse killer?
Yes, I hope so. Because really that's willingness to grow up. It's childish to make excuses. It's an indulgence of our suffering, or our victimhood. And it has its place until you are ready to grow up. And then, yes, you catch it in a book, or you hear someone speaking, you go, whoa. And then finally you're willing to be that for yourself. You catch yourself in a habit, as we all have habits, of excuse making, or telling a story of victimhood, or poor me, or nay, when you when you could be saying yes. So yes, that's my role.
So you just say to people, stop blaming the world for your trouble.
I say
go inside.
Stop. Just stop. So it's stop blaming the world and stop praising the world. Stop the whole narrative. The narrative is beautiful and wondrous and comes from this mysterious source. And it's a way we try to connect and explain. But for a moment, just stop. And then the narrative is actually informed by what's revealed in the stopping.
But will the narrative ever get at ease with what is?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, because the narrative, or the thinking mind, then takes a subservient role, becomes a servant to what is. And it's made for that. Mm-hmm. So it's in its rightful place, and then there's more lucidity, there's more creativity, there's more capacity to respond.
Alertness.
Yes, because attention is freed from trying to guide the life into serving life.
Yeah. Okay, let's take one more tweet from the Gangaji Twitter account. Ask yourself, what are you unwilling to lose to be who you truly are? And unwilling or not, lose it. So
these are good. I like them. I approve.
Yeah, it's a great Twitter account. So what are you unwilling to lose? I think you mean concepts, not unwilling to lose your house or your boat or your car. Or
I mean everything.
Everything.
Because really, loss is some kind of death. And in this lineage, through Papaji and Ramana Maharshi, it's really immediately discovered what is always here when you face death. And so maybe it's a small death, losing my car, or losing a concept, and maybe it's a big death, losing this being, this life form. But in the willingness, it's different from the desire, just in the willingness for a moment in this moment, to lose your house, to lose your car, to lose your wife, to lose your children, to lose your world, to lose your enlightenment, to lose everything. This is what we're most afraid of. But to meet that, to lose that, then we discover directly what cannot be lost.
It's always there.
It's here, yes.
So it's not a prescription that you say get rid of everything.
Right. No, I say get rid of the getting rid of too. Because the getting rid of often has as a motive or an agenda keeping something else. Keeping my purity, keeping my enlightenment, keeping my nobility, whatever. Just lose all concepts of yourself, all representations of yourself, and discover what's here.
One man we wouldn't want to lose in a couple of days is your husband, Eli. He's also here. Do you think we could get him to talk with the three of us here?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
I'll go get him.
Okay, that's nice.
Great.